Hello there, this is Chris from Macombo, and I'm here with the new OnePlus 5T, shiny new OnePlus phone just launched at the end of 2017. And we're going to do a quick side-by-side with another massive mighty 6-incher, the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. Launched just a few weeks earlier, also rocks very similar premium specs to see which one might be best for you. Well, as you can see, they're both massive mobiles, 6 inches in size, 6.01 to be perfectly exact on the case of the OnePlus. So they'll definitely fill your pockets or your handbags or whatever. In terms of general dimensions, they're basically the same height, depth, girth, all the rest of it. As you can see, we put them on top of each other. They're reasonably slender, considering their size. Ever so slightly jutting camera lenses, but only to a very small degree. Nothing too sinister going on there. And if we flip around to the back, you can see they obviously both rock dual lens cameras. We'll touch on that in a moment. But very different designs, all the same. The Huawei Mate 10 Pro is mostly metal, but it does have this nice glossy glass surfacing covering it. So that thankfully hides smudges and stuff quite well. It does pick up dust quite happily. But pretty rugged as well. It hasn't picked up any scratches or scuffs in the past few weeks. OnePlus 5T goes for a more sort of traditional standard metal finish. And it seems, again, reasonably rugged. We've noticed a couple of little light scratches already, despite the fact we've only had it for less than 24 hours, in fact. So you might want to slap a case on it. There is one, thankfully, bundled in the box itself, which is always handy. And as you can see, just a nice bit of OnePlus icon there. Apart from that, pretty sort of plain back. Whereas you've got this nice sort of two-tone effect and a bit more detailing on the Huawei to make it look a bit more glam. As you can see, both phones of course rock a rear fingerprint sensor. That's obviously because the narrow top and bottom bezels around the front don't allow for it there. And in both cases it's super swift and responsive, so just a quick tap. Oh, took a little bit longer there on the Mate. Let's just try again. Quick tap and you're into your desktops. And of course the OnePlus 5T has the added advantage of having Face ID recognition. So this actually uses the front-facing lens to detect your face. So you just hit the power button and you go straight into your desktop. So that's a good alternative if you're wearing some gloves, your hands are a bit sticky for whatever reason. Definitely a good alternative. However, the Huawei Mate 10 Pro does have an advantage over the OnePlus 5T when it comes to the design, in so far that it's water resistant, so IP67 rated, which means you can give it a good dunking in water, get it fully submerged, whereas the OnePlus 5T, it isn't even really splash proof, so you can get it a little bit wet. You can use it in the rain and it seems absolutely fine, as we can attest to, but you definitely don't want to get it dunked in the bath or anything like that. If we flip around the actual design as well, they're all pretty standard. You've got your usual bog standard volume rocker, power button, SIM tray to actually house your SIM card and all that. The OnePlus 5T does have an alert slider on it as well, which you can use to quickly silence it, put it in do not disturb mode. And down below, as you can see, they both use Type-C USB for power and backup. They both got the bottom mounted speaker grill, but only the OnePlus 5T has a headphone jack. You won't find anything like that on the Mate 10 Pro. So what about the screen tech? Well, as I said before, they're both sort of 6 inches in size, a nice stretched 18:9 aspect ratio, so it's a nice cinematic aspect ratio, very good if you watch a lot of Netflix on the go, for instance. And they're pretty sharp as well, 2160 by 1080 pixel resolution, so just slightly bigger than your standard 1920 by 1080, in order to suit the fact that it's, of course, that stretched aspect ratio. You get a screen protector applied in both cases as well, so that just helps to protect it from any little scratches and scuffs, which is always nice. And in both cases it's OLED tech as well. It's actually AMOLED on the OnePlus 5T, which means sort of strong contrast levels, really deep blacks, and nice punchy visuals in general as well. The OnePlus 5T, personally, we think is slightly more vibrant of the two. We've actually got the vivid mode or vibrant mode turned on for the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. It doesn't really seem to make much difference, but colours are still reasonably punchy without really truly standing out like they do on the OnePlus 5T. Now, of course, they're both running Android, but in the case of the OnePlus 5T, it's sadly still Android Nougat. We need an update on that. It's still 7.1.1. But it is also running Oxygen OS on top of it, which adds a few bonus little features such as the shelf shortcuts, which are quite nifty. Basically a bunch of widgets all pushed away onto one screen. You got some one-handed help, which is always good because it's a massive phone, so you can just pull down the notifications tab from anywhere on the screen, which is definitely handy. And a few other little bonus features such as the reading mode, which basically just adjusts the display so it's a bit more comfortable to read for longer periods with lots of text. And the Huawei Mate 10, it's actually running a bit of Android Oreo with Huawei's latest Emotion UI version 8 on top of it as well. And the number of features, frankly, it will take far too long to go through. We've actually done a full video just on Emotion UI 8, so go check that out if you want to see all the features in action. But you do get lots of one-handed features, so the likes of the mini screen view, in order to get a nice smaller display, make it easier to work with. So all you need to do, as you can see there, swipe across like that, and there you go. And of course, there's plenty more packed away in there as well. You can actually translate foreign text locally, so you don't even have to be online in order to do it, as long as you've downloaded the packs. Lots more security features, power saving modes, loads of stuff packed in there. So as I say, go check out our full video on Emotion UI 8 in order to learn about all of that. Power in the OnePlus 5T, you get the latest Snapdragon 835 chipset, so it's getting on a little bit. It should be replaced by Qualcomm in the new year, but it's still perfectly nippy. Backed here by either 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, depending on which model you get. And you know, apps just load instantly. You have no hanging around or anything; they just power straight up, which is great. And yeah, certainly games and things like that, you'll have absolutely no problem playing. And as you can see, it's just a nice, smooth experience. You get exactly the same smooth experience on the Mate 10 Pro. It's super, super nippy thanks to Huawei's own Kirin 970 chipset. And again, it's backed by either 4 or 6 gigs of RAM, so not quite as much memory, but still, apps load up the second you tap them. No hanging around at all. It's nice and nippy, so great stuff overall. The Huawei Mate 10 Pro wins in terms of the battery tech. It's got a 4,000 milliamp battery packed inside. You can easily get a day and a half to 2 days of life out of it, depending on what you're up to. Go to the battery, you've got power saving mode, ultra power saving mode. You can optimize it depending on what's running in the background. There you go. You could also see exactly what apps are allowed to fiddle around with stuff and everything like that. So it's really, really strong, and it supports Huawei's own supercharged technology. So you can power it right back up in like just over an hour. Will give you pretty much a full charge, despite the fact that it's a massive cell. OnePlus 5T doesn't embarrass itself, however. It's still got a 3,300 milliamp cell, and with all tested so far, it seems to be pretty good. It should easily last the day on a full charge. Hopefully get a day and a half out of it. And it supports dash charge, which again, it can power up to close to full in just an hour at the plug, which is definitely handy. Which brings us on to that camera tech. So as I said before, they both rock a dual lens sensor here on the back, but they are very different as well. So for instance, here on the OnePlus 5T, you get a 20 megapixel f1.7 aperture lens and a 60 megapixel secondary f1.7 aperture lens. And if we dive into the camera app, it's a pretty straightforward experience, nothing too complicated. Let's just shift the Mate out the way. So as you can see, nice straightforward interface, straight into the auto mode. You can just tap the shutter button and it takes snaps pretty much instantly. You've got a few little settings you can play around with, so you can just adjust. For instance, it's got full HDR mode built into the auto mode. You get your timer on the go, and change the aspect ratio, all that kind of stuff. Pretty straightforward. And then if you drag this way, you've got a handful of features you can choose from as well. You've got a full Pro mode if you want manual controls. So that just allows you to fiddle with the likes of the white balance and stuff like that. Slow motion and time-lapse video as well as standard. You can shoot up to 4K resolution video. And you've also got a portrait mode, which makes use of those two cameras to get nice bokeh effects. So if you get Teddy into the shot, here we go. So you can see a nice bit of depth effect. And it'll just give a nice blurry background and help them to stand out. It's very standard for a dual lens camera. And that's pretty much your whack, nice and straightforward. On the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, you get a very different dual lens camera setup. It's actually a 20 megapixel monochrome lens backed by a 12 megapixel color lens, f1.6 aperture, so slightly better in the low light we've discovered so far, although that's just at a first testing with the OnePlus 5T. We'll do a full camera review of that very shortly. It gets optical image stabilization built into it, quad focus, and if we dive into the camera app, you will see that it's a very different experience. So you can see at first glance, nice and neat and tidy. You've got your usual just your shutter button, just give that a quick tap. It takes shots basically instantly again. We've also got a variety of extra little modes here. So you've got the wide aperture mode, which is similar to the depth mode on the OnePlus 5T, as is the portrait mode, which also just adds a beauty effect to make your subject look all glam, smooth out those wrinkles and the rest. You also get a moving picture effort, which is similar to Apple's live photos, just shoots a little snippet of video as you shoot your photo. And of course you get the various filter effects and everything as well. And if you drag out this way, you get loads of bonus features. So you get not just pro controls for your photos, you get pro controls for your videos as well. HDR mode sadly is separate, it's not built into the auto mode, but to be honest it doesn't really matter because the HDR is pretty good just on the standard auto mode anyway. You get night shots, time-lapse slow-mo, all this kind of stuff. So you get loads of extra features buried away in there. If you pull out, there you go, there's your Pro controls, which you can use at any time. And if you swipe this way, you're into the full settings as well. So you've got lots of stuff to play around with. Once again, you can shoot up to 4K resolution video. There's just so much buried away in there, it's quite incredible. As for around the front, you get an 8 megapixel front facing camera f2.0 on this bad boy, and it's a 16 megapixel f2.0 on the OnePlus 5T. So slightly crisper photos from the OnePlus, but we found that both will certainly do the job when it comes to your selfies. And that right there, in a nutshell, is Huawei Mate 10 Pro versus the OnePlus 5T. So which one do you think might be best for you? Which one are you tempted to lay your cash out on? Well, Mate 10 Pro, this might make your mind up for you, costs $699 here in the UK, SIM-free. Whereas the OnePlus 5T starts from just $449, got up to $499 if you want that 8 gig, 128 gigabyte version. So yeah, the OnePlus 5T certainly seems to offer better value for money. It's not water resistant like the Mate 10 Pro is, but it still offers a strong camera experience, strong features, and some really solid premium specs, and a nice design as well. The Mate 10 Pro definitely wins in terms of the design for us, but the OnePlus 5T certainly holds its own in pretty much every other area. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for a full OnePlus 5T review and check out our other comparisons. Thanks for watching. Bye.